Good afternoon, Cowboys, and welcome back to the first Daily O of the school year. I'm T. Johnson. Let's get into our show. Continuing tonight and tomorrow is the Weedstock Music Festival here in Stillwater. The three-day event began yesterday at the Tumbleweed Dance Hall and is featuring groups such as the Flatline Cavalry and the Randy Rogers Band. This event has been met with some criticism as it continues holding a multi-day concert that will bring large groups of people together. The festival's representatives have advertised that masks must be worn at all times and there will be thousands of dollars worth of protective equipment in use, and 60 acres worth of land so people can observe social distancing. Mayor Will Joyce has spoken out against the event being held and discouraged people from attending, saying, quote, "It is not the right time for thousands of people to gather for a three-day music festival," end quote. If you're considering attending, just please make sure to take the proper steps to stay safe for not just yourself, but for everyone. The Daily O's Parker Terrell talked to students on campus about their thoughts on how OSU has adapted to COVID-19.
I'm Parker Terrell here on the campus of Oklahoma State University. I'm at Chi O'Clock, and this week we started our classes with all types of COVID precautions. Masks like these, hand sanitizer stations, and social distancing in the classroom. I'm going to talk to some students to see how they are faring with these new precautions. So, what are some of your thoughts on all the precautions Oklahoma State is taking to combat the coronavirus?
I think our university is definitely trying. There can be more options, I think, for the university to take. For example, I haven't really seen any sanitation workers, and I think that's a bit disappointing. Between classes, I thought there would be more sanitation. But I think people wearing their masks every day and inside has definitely been a great decision.
Thank you. So with all these different COVID precautions, what do you think about how the university is doing to combat the spread of coronavirus?
I think they're doing a really good job with what they can do because all college students are kind of independent minded right now because they've been away from home for a little while. So I think they're doing the best they can with what they've got. But they're putting in a lot of precautions that I think are helping.
I agree. I just think that everything, the steps they're putting out, such as wearing the mask and just being aware of social distancing events, I think that's helping a lot.
Thank you. So I'm here with Kenny McGraw, who works at the university store here in the student union. And I'm asking you, Kenny, is the university store taking any other separate precautions to COVID than the university? And how are you guys dealing with this pandemic?
Yeah, sure. So we do have a maximum capacity of 400 compared to, before COVID where we didn't really have a capacity. We give out free masks and we have everyone sanitized before they come in.
All right, thank you. The safety protocols this semester may be jarring, and the differences on campus are clear. The university, however, is not stopping students from hanging out with their friends or enjoying the college experience. But this semester, to keep others safe, we all have to do it 6 feet apart. For the Daily O, I'm Parker Terrell.
Thank you, Parker. Next, the U.S. Postmaster General Louis DeJoy testified today about controversial changes being made in the U.S. Postal Service. Here's more on that story.
President Trump's Postmaster General in the hot seat.
He's a fantastic man. He wants to make the post office great again.
Louis DeJoy testifying in the Republican-led Senate today on changes made to the Postal Service that critics say could threaten the November election. Postal workers have been sounding alarms over delayed delivery times and the removal of high-speed letter sorters that could affect mail-in voting as well as prescription drug deliveries and other important mail.
They're not delivering, they're not collecting, so it's a problem. Medicines aren't being delivered, bills aren't going out in the mail.
DeJoy didn't need Senate confirmation, and this will be his first time testifying to Congress. DeJoy and the Postal Service scrambling to clean up, holding emergency meetings and consulting an outside public relations firm, according to a source familiar with the process. Tuesday, an embattled DeJoy announcing he was suspending the controversial changes until after the election, in order to, quote, avoid even the appearance of any impact on election mail. But some say the damage has already been done.
It's not enough just to stop the continued disruption of the Postal Service, but we need to see the damage that's already been done corrected.
An internal email sent hours after DeJoy's announcement and obtained by CNN shows a Postal Service Director of Operations telling managers not to reconnect or reinstall machines that have been previously disconnected without approval from headquarters. But with millions of Americans expected to vote through the mail this year due to the pandemic, the changes, paired with Trump's angry rhetoric on mail-in voting, fueling allegations that the Trump administration is trying to use the Postal Service for political gain.
To access prescription drugs, paychecks, and other essential items for their lives. To politicize and sabotage the Postal Service in order to suppress votes is dangerous. It is, however, apparently what the President of the United States wants to do.
The hearing comes just a day after a former Postal Service board member briefed Democrats about what he says is interference in the Postal Service.
I recently resigned as the Vice Chairman of the Postal Board of Governors when it became clear to me that the administration was politicizing the Postal Service.
DeJoy is also slated to testify before the Democratic-led House Oversight Committee on Monday. Daily O reporter Brodie Myers talked with Stillwater Mayor Joyce about what Stillwater is doing to protect residents from coronavirus.
As much as I'd like to talk about other things, we have to move on to COVID-19. How effective do you feel like your mask mandate has been so far?
You know, it's hard to judge those things. I saw a story in the Tulsa World today with some early research that they've done around the state, that a doctor has done around the state with cities that do have mask mandates showing lower positivity rates. So fewer people who are being tested are testing positive, which is a good thing in cities that have had mask mandates in place. I think about a third, maybe a little bit more than a third of the state population is currently in a city that has a mask mandate. So, you know, I think it would be positive to see that expanded because from what we can tell, overall, it certainly does help.
Last time around, you had some businesses saying people were pulling guns on them, being very aggressive about that. Have you had any more complaints along those lines?
We really haven't. You know, this time, given sort of the conversation, you know, we talked about it a little bit longer ahead of time, gave people a little bit more notice, and kind of changed up the method and the way we implemented it. And the community has responded really well. I mean, anecdotally, you know, I see very strong compliance around town. Certainly there are still those folks who, you know, feel like they shouldn't have to and don't want to be told what to do, which, you know, is unfortunate because it is an action that really benefits the larger community and not just the individual.
What about over at SMC? Do they have all the PPE they need? Are they in good shape as of now?
As of now, yeah. You know, the shutdown earlier in the year was really sort of prompted by the fact that hospital systems around the country and around the world really weren't in a position to be able to respond like they needed to, and Stillwater was no different. You know, at some points in March and April, they were down to just days, you know, a handful of days worth of PPE available. But as testing has gotten better and we're testing more and testing faster, and they've been able to build up their supply, they now have hundreds, I think over 100 days worth of supply in terms of PPE, and they're able to use that much more efficiently because they don't have to guess at who has COVID. They can actually test and get results relatively fast now. So they're in good shape. They've been, I think, working extremely hard. I'm very proud of the team at SMC and the work they've done over the last several months to prepare our community for this, which does give us more leeway in terms of how we can respond, right? I mean, with their ability to treat, having been expanded now, it gives us a little bit more leeway as a community.
You said in the first part, we closed down initially to help the hospitals who didn't have the infrastructure to do this. I guess, and I know we're still going on, did we flatten the curve like we wanted to? Do you think we succeeded there?
Absolutely, we succeeded. I mean, if you just look at the raw numbers from, it's been from March to June, right? When we first moved into shutdown kind of mode, we started shutting things down on March 17th here in Stillwater. And then all of that was opened back up as of June 1st, according to the governor's plan. In that time period between March 17th and June 1st, we had 22 total cases in Stillwater. The last 5 or 6 weeks, that period with 0 active cases in Stillwater. Since we've opened everything back up on June 1st, we're well above 600 total cases, been at one point as high as 175 actives. We've unfortunately lost 3 of our local residents to this disease in that time frame. So, I think it's fairly clear that those, drastic measures that we took early certainly helped at the time that they were in place. Now, again, the circumstances have changed a little bit. We're not as concerned about the hospital's immediate ability to treat the community. And so things have loosened up, but I think you're seeing the effect of those looser standards.
Brodie's full interview with Mayor Joyce will be available on our YouTube channel if you want to check that out. We'll take a quick break and then come back with weather.
Oh, there you go. Superstar.
The end of the practice is when we do all of our intensity drills.
Okay.
She was going at it.
Stop. If we get them to Detroit by, let's say Monday the 15th. Time's right there. There we go. Yeah. Just, you can't.
Don't want to talk about it.
When you see the water tower, you're gonna make a right.
If we win this, is the one way to get to the playoffs. I know.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at our weather for this coming week. So Friday, we have a high of 91 and a low of 65. It's going to be feeling good tonight, y'all. Tomorrow, we have a high of 95 degrees and a low of 68 degrees. On Sunday, we'll have a high of 96 degrees and a low of 69 degrees. Monday, we'll have a high of 95 degrees and a low of 69 degrees. Tuesday, we'll have a high of 95 degrees again and a low of 70 degrees. And Wednesday, we'll have a high of 96 degrees and a low of 73 degrees. I'm loving these warm nights. It's everything I'm looking for. So we'll go ahead and take a quick break and then we'll be back with sports. For the Daily O, I'm T. Johnson.
Hi, I'm Will Joyce, the Mayor of Stillwater. As Mayor, it's my responsibility to help develop plans for a variety of resident needs, including roads, emergency services, and utilities. Some of those services are paid for with federal money that the government distributes to states and communities based on Census Bureau data. This is your tax money coming back to our community, but if you or your household aren't counted, we lose nearly $1,200 per person to places like Texas, Kansas, and Arkansas. So help bring that money back to local communities by filling out the 2020 census. This year, it's easy to do. You will receive a postcard in March 2020 with a unique code for your address. Using that code, simply go online, call, or request a paper copy of the census and fill it out. I want to make sure that you and your whole household are counted in the 2020 census. It's important not just to Stillwater, but to all of Payne County.
Welcome back to the Daily O. I'm Parker Terrell. Let's get into sports. Cowboy football will be back this season. The Big 12 Conference announced the fall schedule last Wednesday, with each team playing 9 conference games and 1 non-conference game. This past week, Coach Gundy expressed to the media how excited he is for the upcoming season. Although the offseason was rough for players and coaches ever since the plan for the season was released, the team knows what direction to go in and the morale is high. The Cowboys are taking extreme caution in every aspect of their lives, and players are encouraged to take online classes if necessary. Starters and backup players are not allowed to live with each other, and frequent COVID testing will be implemented. In addition, there is an option for players to opt out of the season at this point at any time. Gundy was not aware of any player choosing to opt out. Looking forward to the season, fans should be expecting a great year from sophomore quarterback Spencer Sanders. Tim Rattay was added to the coaching staff back in January as the new quarterbacks coach. Sanders has enjoyed working with Rattay and learning more about the game. Improving with each practice, fans should also be excited about the Cowboy defense. With a good mix of veterans and new players, the defense will be a well-rounded unit this season. The season will start in Boone Pickens Stadium on September 12th. The Cowboys' first opponent will be the Tulsa Golden Hurricanes. Can't wait another month for Cowboy football? Check out the ESPN Plus docuseries Our Time, Oklahoma State Football. Episodes drop weekly, with the first 2 already out on ESPN Plus. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back to talk more sports. Welcome back. In the studio today, we have Ocali digital editor Chris Becker. Chris, how are you?
I'm doing well, Parker. Thanks for having me.
Oh, no problem. So first tell us, what do you do for the Ocali?
I'm currently the digital editor, which I handle a lot of the behind-the-scenes things, work on the website, some social media, and then I'm also a sports writer.
All right. Well, let's get right into sports. As I mentioned earlier, the Big 12 kind of shocked the sports world by saying that we are going to play football this fall. So what do you think, Chris? Can the Big 12, and specifically Oklahoma State, pull this off?
I hope so, and I think they can if they keep the players in somewhat of a bubble while they're on campus. I know Gundy talked about it. 75% of the players taking only online classes. So if they can keep them in a bubble, keep them healthy, I don't see a problem with it. And like we said, it kind of shocked the world a little bit. When the Big Ten decided to cancel, everyone thought it's going to be a domino effect. It wasn't. 2 conferences opted out, 3 opted in, and I hope they can pull it off.
So what do you think, as you mentioned, the Big Ten and the Pac-12, they canceled all fall sports. Do you think that a spring football season is even possible?
I don't think so. It's going to be weird. I mean, it's possible, but I don't think it could happen. It's just, especially with only a few conferences choosing to play then, there's not going to be a big array of teams wanting to play. And I know a lot of players are already saying they're going to just go to the draft if they have a spring season. I know a couple people from Michigan, a couple people from Ohio State. They've already decided they're declaring for the draft and moving forward from college football because their conferences decided to move on.
So switching back to Oklahoma State, who are some of the players on this Cowboy football team that are a little bit under the radar that you're excited to watch this upcoming season?
Right. I think Dylan Stoner's a big one. He kind of came out of the limelight last year after Tylan Wallace went down. Landon Wolf's another one. Another receiver kind of came into the spotlight whenever Tylan went down. And then defensively, Rodarius Williams has to step up after A.J. Green left. And then safety duos, Kobe Harville-Peel, Trey Serling. And then Jarg Bernard's moving to corner also. So, I mean, on the defense, only one lost starter in A.J. Green. And I think they were going to replace him with the deep corners that we have.
So, Calvin Bundage returns this season after redshirting all of last season. Do you think that he's going to make an impact at linebacker?
I don't know. I think he can be a solid backup this year. I think he might have lost his job last year, and hopefully he comes back. Jim Knowles talked about how he's come back and he's fully healthy again, and but I think Amen Ogbogdominga and Malcolm Rodriguez they kind of hold down that those linebacker spots.
So switching now to Cowboy basketball. So way back in like March or April, the NCAA announced infractions on the Cowboy basketball team, banning them from postseason play and taking away, I think, 3 scholarships over the next 3 years. I mean, there hasn't been much news on that front. They definitely appealed the decision. What do you think, Chris Becker, with this season being perhaps the most hyped basketball season of all time for the Cowboys, how devastating would this be if they can't even play in the tournament?
It's going to be tough. It's going to be devastating to the team, as obviously. We got Cade Cunningham coming in, Farron Flavors, Donovan Williams, a very highly touted recruiting class. And if they don't get to play in the NCAA tournament, that's going to not only lose money for the university, it's going to lose money for the NCAA, and a lot of viewing too, because Cade Cunningham's arguably the number 1 pick in the 2021 draft. But if OSU can keep pushing back this appeal process and it keeps going into the season, there's still a chance they can play in the 2020 postseason and push that ban back to 2021, or hopefully the appeal works and there's no ban at all.
Absolutely. So you can check out Chris' work on the Ocali, and he also is on Twitter, correct?
Correct.
All right. Well, we're going to take another quick break. Thanks a lot, Chris. And when we come back, we'll end the show. Thanks for tuning into our show today. You can watch our show every Friday on Apple TV, Amazon Fire Stick, Roku, and on Suddenlink, channel 112. For the Daily O, I'm Parker Terrell. Have a good night.
Hey, Mom. I'm wearing my mask.